Welcome, Virgo. This will be a reading for September 9th to 15th. My name is Drew, and this is the Indigo Void. I want to welcome you. Today we're doing a general reading along with a You Against the World spread and an oracle card to give you better clarity on the message. It's very nice to be with you. I actually have all three of my personal planets, my Mars, my Venus, and my Mercury, all within my 8th house of Virgo. And it definitely keeps my house clean, let's just say that much. I really enjoy the energy of Virgos because you guys are very clean people typically, and you're analytical, and how can anybody bullshit you? You know, it's also very interesting. I really appreciate Virgos. A lot of important ones. My father's a Virgo. So, with that, one more shuffle, and we'll get you going. I typically hate shuffling and reading, so make sure it's nice and good. Right at the center of the energy, we have the King of Wands crossed by the Seven of Swords. Above you is the Five of Swords. Below you is the Star. Recent past is the Ten of Swords. Near future is the King of Pentacles. Your advice is the Ten of Wands. How others are seeing you is the Tower. Your hopes and fears section is the Seven of Pentacles. And the outcome is the King of Cups. So right off the bat, it's nice to see the King of Wands here, especially crossed by the Seven of Swords, because the King of Wands is known for being a person of its word. It achieves what it says it's going to do, and that's a nice feeling. It's nice to be known that your word is your bond, that you're able to manifest what you're pointing your mind towards, that when people look at you, they know that you're capable of doing what you're going to say you're going to do. And with the Seven of Swords here, it's like having to be very mentally strategic. You know, the Seven of Swords typically represents with sneakiness or whatever in general readings that I see. But for me, it's more about, you know, thinking smartly, holding the cards close to your chest. You know, sometimes getting things done is actually having the fewest amount of cooks in the kitchen. You know, so sometimes if you know what you're going to do and you know how to do it well and do it right, sometimes you just want to do it without having to tell somebody you're going to do it. You know, so I can really respect that energy. And above you, we can see the Five of Swords here, letting you know that, you know, the divine does have your back, and often it can defeat situations that you might be feeling that are impossible. Sometimes our minds can make us think that, you know, situations in our lives, many times in my own personal life, I've dealt with circumstances, experiences where I thought, there's no way this is going to survive, I'm not going to survive this, you know, and it's somehow I'm still here today at 31 years old. And the Star is telling you inside to know that there's hope. There's always going to be hope and a way to survive a situation. Have that faith. Just know that it's capable of working out. Sometimes dreams do come true. And sometimes that's the magic of living in this life and having our human experiences, understanding the divine's manifestation for us, because, you know, there's always a divine plan. And if you just accept that thought, there's so much more you can achieve as soon as you get that paradigm out of your way. You know, you wouldn't be watching this if you're not a spiritual believer, at least in my belief. Because in the Ten of Swords in the recent past, we can see you went to something where there's just no way to go back. Or it was something so drastic, so terrible, but also it could be the best blessing in disguise. You know, plenty of times you might have experienced what you thought was too bad, but years later you can look back as the best thing that ever happened to you. You know, sometimes an ending in a relationship or a career or a job path or a position of power or a feeling of loss, sometimes the best thing for us, because we can't see the forest for the trees. You know, we have this tunnel vision especially where we can't understand that it's the best possible outcome for us, you know. So just realize that, because it's saying is that, you know, sure, this ending, it might have put you in this King of Wands mode where, okay, I'm forced to deal with this ending, and it was terrible and tragic, and now I'm forced to take action, and I know exactly how this drive feels when you know that this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it, and I have to think smart about it, because ultimately I know deep inside of me, deep inside with the Star, that I'm going to survive this, I'm going to come out on top. It is possible because I have that faith. And sometimes these drastic situations actually help us, you know, develop a personal relationship with our divine inner power. You know, the Most High is what I would like to say, is that it's teaching you is that if you just develop this faith and maintain it and not be so stuck in this concrete reality, you know, this concept of the conscious mind is only there to figure things out, that you have to rely so much on what you can do within your mind. You know, just understand it's all mental. So just at least at that experience, have that feeling of positivity. You know, show some gratitude wherever you are in your life right now. Just know that, you know, you can achieve impossible things that our mind's telling us no, you can't. Because as soon as you stop telling yourself you can't and start saying no, I can, or I will, or I shall, those things can drive you to accomplish impossible things. Is that mind over matter stuff. because in the near future we can see the King of Pentacles here. You know, and that's a really cool card to see, especially seeing you come over some Ten of Swords energy. You know, to come from an ending, whatever, but still come on top in the near future as the King of Pentacles. I mean, the King of Pentacles is able to be the person that people can see what he has. You know, there's a lot of things where you can see what you do, but to see what you have based on your actions, it's like having to tell people what you plan on doing is one thing, and seeing them doing, having them see you do it is another thing too. But as far as what you've achieved and what you can physically show people, like an award, a statue, things you've earned through merits, through your actions, you know, having balance of actions, emotions, and thought forms, you know, and have the pentacles right here to show that you can actually physically show people, whether it be you have savings, you have finances, you have a nice place to live, or a situation where you're forced to go from what you would think is the best you could possibly imagine at that time, only to come out on top later on through the power of your own actions. It actually comes out and benefits you in a physical form, and that could be currency, money, any kinds of something physical, or people will be able to see it. It's almost like a car accident, and I can see surviving the car accident, everybody is okay, and somehow you're able to come out with a better car at the end of it. You know, that's just one example of many. Or even being in a relationship, or even saying, okay, an end of a situation where I was dependent on somebody else, and now I stand on my own. And that's a great feeling, because the advice of the Ten of Wands is to stop overburden yourself with how much actions, how many things it's going to take. You could be counting 10 different steps in your head with these wands. So many different things you have to do to fix a situation on your conscious mind, but if you just know that the divine is capable of working things out, you know, understand that there's so many possibilities for these 10 different things that are making you feel overburdened, like you're tired before you even start doing a single one of those things. Just know that it may not require you for you to actually have to take care of all those 10 responsibilities. You know, being overburdened is obviously a time for us to realize how human we are. And when we're so tired and we're so burnt out of a situation, just know that it's capable. It's allowing us to say, I give up. Because sometimes that's all the divine is trying to do, is allow us to say, I give up. And allow it to take over, that surrender aspect. Because we can only go so far. Our willpower is only so given to us. You know, it has limits. We are limited in this human being, but we are spiritual beings with infinite. You know, so understand that the infinite power of the divine is capable of manifesting. So just admit that you're tired. Admit that you're burnt out. Give it up. Surrender. You know, because people around you are watching you experience a situation where it's outside your control. You know, because especially as Virgos, you know, you can be so critical, but also so detail analyzing, where you can have all your T's and dots and I's, you know, the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and you can still experience hardship. You know, because you could be going down a path where it's just not built on solid ground, and you know, sometimes the universe will tear something down for you because it has something envisioned better for you. And we have to keep that optimism. We can't be pessimistic and think that we deserve to be punished. That's just not the way the world is meant to work. You know, I'm sorry if you're experiencing negative stuff in your life, but there has to be a better outcome. You know, that's just the mentality that's going to keep you waking up the next day. You know, so realize that people around you are seeing you experience a hardship. They might not understand it, or they might see it coming or seeing you go through it, but ultimately there's a way that through you surviving or capitalizing on this experience and coming through it, that they can actually benefit, you know, maybe even develop a sense of faith in their own, especially if they're going through hardships, because if you can go through this, they know they possibly would be able to survive had they go through the same thing if you did. So you're an inspiration to people around you, because you will survive and capitalize on this. To me, it's like slipping a banana peel and doing a perfect backflip. And we can see here in your hopes and fears section, we can see the Seven of Pentacles. So I can definitely tell that you've, in this card is very important, because typically it's the guy raking leaves, but in this card, it's, you know, the Empress. You know, she's requiring this architect to continue to add another pentacle within that, but there's not enough room. And so what it's saying here is that you've gone as far as you can in investing something. You've completed work so far. You've achieved some things to its max. You've max leveled some gear. And this new pentacle right here is a new fresh of gear, and it's more rare, has better perks, and you can't fit anything else in this old set. Sure, you might like it, it might be something you're familiar with, it might have been reliable, but ultimately it's time to build upon something new. You know, take the time to realize that you've invested and you've achieved as far as you can possibly go with this Ten of Swords, especially. It's telling me is that it's time to take a chance, because all 6 of those extra ones and that 7th one is saying this is the kind of time where you can actually become the King of Pentacles here. So I can definitely see that you're afraid of not being able to invest in what you're familiar with, but at the same time take a chance in the single one, because instead of having to carry around 6 coins in your pocket to be a value of that one. So realize you're capable of starting something new is not always bad, and being familiar with things is often our worst, or sometimes our worst traps ever. And I can see the tower here is saying, listen, you're building in the same place too much. You're going too high in the same situation. Instead of building vertically, let's go horizontally. Let's move forward, move the situation, and begin to build a tower elsewhere. Don't be afraid to build towers. Know that you're capable of building a tower, and even if the world breaks it down, you know how to build another one, and you can learn the lessons and learn how to build in the same landscape again. And finally, we have the King of Cups for the outcome, which is beautiful to see, because this is over here is experiencing the highs and lows in life and learning how to know that your emotional well-being is the most important thing above all else, because your mental health, whatever, those things are all super important, but it's ultimately how you feel. And the King of Cups is able to, conjure these feelings and recognize when they're trying to control him, and instead he controls his feelings. He's able to stand on top of his emotions. And sometimes people would consider you to be, emotionally untruthful. It's like, laughing when you're not happy, crying when you're not sad. But at the same time, that's a lot of maturity right there. To be able to see people around you be successful and you're not, and not be angry but be happy for them. That's the King of Cups energy. Whereas the King of Cups is emotionally is super wealthy within his emotional well-being. Nothing really to show for it in physical terms, but as far as how he feels, he's wealthier than everybody, because the King of Pentacles, he's only wealthy as long as he has his money, whereas the King of Cups, he's able to conjure these emotions regardless of whatever situation he's facing. This tower might be exactly devastating, but just know that through this ability to come out on top and invest in something new and build new and stop being overburdened and have hope in the divine and whatever, just know that just because it's not physically there in front of you, which it soon will be, you can see, doesn't mean that you should allow it. This should give you a whole inspiration of experiencing faith. That's what I can see here, is developing faith, and just because you're not because you're not directly responsible step by step by articulating a plan and organizing everything, doesn't mean that you're not capable of still coming out the winner. So remember, you're still a winner, and it's going to work itself out. And just remember this experience, because it can be powerful. It can be the game changer. You can capitalize on this forever. Show people around you how it's done, how to handle situations with grace, and come out on top and learn to, conjure these feelings of achievement over, drastic endings. And now we're going to do the You Against the World spread. And I apologize if I'm talking too fast for a lot of people out here. It's just because I'm dealing with the energy of Mercury, because I do these readings this week. At least I'm doing them on the planetary days for each of the signs. And I just did Gemini, and it just put me on this super fast talking tangent, because I just really enjoy the energy of Mercury. I'm really enjoying doing your guys' readings. A lot of cool messages here. Advice I could use for myself, definitely. Right. So I'm going to do a You Against the World spread now. So it's pretty much like 3 cards for you and 3 cards to the world, and a mutual energy card for you in between. Right. So your side and the world side and the energy. And for you, and the mutual energy between you and the world is the Eight of Wands. So it's saying consistent, quick action. So it's just saying whatever you're passionate towards, it's just saying continue to move forward. Understand when you find a direction to move into, go full force. And so I can see that's what you're looking for, and the world's looking for you to do, is take that action. But not only just half-ass it, but it's saying give it your all. Go full force, don't pull back. And so we can see the first card of your energy is the 3 of Pentacles, and on this side for the world is the Emperor. And clearly we can see right here with the 3 of Pentacles energy for you. It's just letting you know, like I say all the time for other cards or other readings, is that 3 of Pentacles to me is is qualifications. Knowing that you're capable of achieving great things because of the qualities that you already possess. Through your own experiences, people around you will trust you with what you're capable of. But don't underestimate your own qualities. Sometimes it takes somebody saying, I really enjoyed your work, or you did a good thing, or I like the way you speak, I like the way you act, I like how you did this, I like how you did that. Something that you're good at, somebody else may not be good at. You're talented in some aspect where somebody else lacks, and they can really appreciate and learn from you just like you can learn from others. Whereas the Emperor on the world side is saying to command, respect, and control, we must be able to constantly never say I'm too old to learn a new trick. You know, constantly being able to be the boss by adapting with change and knowing when to do the right thing and when to learn, when to talk and when to listen. But ultimately having the authority to realize, you know, I could learn from this. I can outsmart. I could be old but young. I could be young but old. Being mature with your decisions, but taking responsibility for the reality around you. You know, having the most authority also comes with the most responsibility. And so it's asking you to be responsible by constantly learning how to learn more for yourself, become better qualified. But also don't be afraid to learn from others, whereas let them learn from you. Experience your talents, experience what you're good at, and also find ways to improve on those things. And you can become the emperor as long as you realize that with the more power you achieve, the more responsibility comes with it. Next card we can see is the Five of Cups along with the Temperance card. And on your side being the Five of Cups, I could definitely feel it's like, you know, it's hard to imagine, you know, to find inspiration as something that seems so important, whereas something that doesn't seem as valuable to us, emotionally fulfilling. And it can be hard, you know, especially dealing with a breakup, and this card dictates, you know, dealing with that can be so important, but instead of investing into recovering that person, recovering the spilled cups, recovering the situation that emotionally fulfills you, is that the ones behind you are the most valuable, but they just don't look as valuable because it's not about the quality, it's about the quantity currently. So we need to change our perception. We need to realize that we can invest in things that do exist still within our lives that we're capable of building from. And even though it's 3 cups that are blown down, the 2 of us behind us can actually draw us to find the rest, to go from 2 to 10. You know, so go back to that basis. Find that harmony with the 2 of Cups from those 5 of Cups to realize you can find harmony within yourself and build that self back up. Stop trying to build that third-party situation between me, myself, and I. You know, it's really just me and myself, and I'm going to go discover myself again. So don't be too gloomy and doomy and gloomy and have that negative outlook that this is as good as it's going to get, and if I don't get this back, I'm never going to achieve anything. And the world is saying with Temperance is just saying, you know, find that inner balance. You know, try to realize that it's all about a transition period, because you need to be comfortable with loss and gain and realize it's all part of the process. And we don't need to put things on pedestals, because as much as we want to enjoy the idea of something being pure or infinite or whatever, ultimately the only thing we can do that is the divine. And that's what this angel in the Temperance card is saying, is realize that hot and cold are both the same things. They're just beneficial at the different times of year or different times within our lives. So realize that even though loss can sometimes seem very bitter, like how could a divine spirit that has the best in for me do this to me right now, or experience these feelings of negativity I'm going through. Ultimately it's a test to say is that this is as good as you think you have it. It's not as good as I think you deserve to have it. So understand that it's all for your greater good, and just learn to take this this negativity or this low self-esteem to reboot that engine to let you know how capable you are of, you know, getting up and dusting yourself off and achieving greater things possible. You know, sometimes the best people at the gym have the best results are the people that just went through a breakup or a job loss, you know, because they have more time, and they have that you know, that spirit of, you know, I'll show you. And sometimes people, instead of going to the gym, they go to school, or they learn a different skill, or they just read different books, become smarter, become more intelligent. They figure out ways how to improve themselves instead of having to rely so much on one person. And typically what happens is that person comes running back. You know, as soon as you invest in yourself, you know, the opportunity wants to come back knocking on your door, and by that time you're overqualified, or you find that you don't really need that situation to come back. And that's a good feeling to see it come back into you not needing as much as you did it before. And that drive, you'll appreciate that drive, because, you know, sometimes in situations of harmony and peace, we become soft and stagnant and unappreciative, and that drive is gone, and it's just as miserable as, you know, being broke is just as miserable as being rich. You just wouldn't know it, you know. At least, like, that's how I would imagine it. You know, if you're just so rich where you just have nothing left to achieve, and you have nothing to do with your time all day, and sure, like, you know, having all that free time but not being able to connect with people is, you know, on the same level, or have nothing to do with your time. You know, it's just as much as like being in prison, where you're just, there's no day-to-day, it's just the same old thing every day, and there's no situation to challenge yourself. But at the same time, having to face constant challenge can be hell in itself. To never have to be able to sit down, relax, and enjoy the things in life, and take a deep breath, that can be hellish too. Alright, for the final card, we have the Six of Pentacles, and on the Moon card. And I can definitely see again on your side is that the Six of Pentacles this year is letting you know that you are capable of, receiving gifts from the world. Is that people will interact with you if, as long as you come with it'll be surprising more if you don't go in there with expectations. And that can be tricky because a lot of times we want to make sure we're investing in ourselves, that are investing our time or energy into other things, that they give back something that's worth our time and our effort. But how do we truly know if we don't give it our shot? Make an experiment, a promise to yourself that I'm going to give it 100%, and I'm going to expect 0% in return. And truly understand that if you were going to do something for free, or if you're going to do something with your time where you weren't expecting anything but your own enjoyment out of it, you might be shocked if you find a way for it to give back to you. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, be worthy of gifts in the universe. You should find a way to interact in your life where you'd be surprised if something bad was to happen. You know what I mean? And obviously they can catch us off guard, but expect to find a way where you're capable of, giving without expecting it. It'd be nice to find ourselves free of having to live off the help of others, the constant feedback of others, or the mental inspiration, or somebody else pushing you to do something, or having to and rely on other people. Find a way to seek independence of this Six of Pentacles. Know that there's nothing good feeling about receiving charity, and sometimes there's nothing, it feels great to give charity. So it was nice to be generous. If you have nothing to do with your time, sometimes give the energy that you wish to receive. That's the best thing I can say at the end of the day is, sometimes if you want it to be, filled with heart, with love and joy, or if you want to feel a lot of gratitude, give gratitude. So that's definitely advice here, because the Moon card on this side is understand that it's all part of the process. Through your deep inner feelings, understand that the Moon process is just all about, it relatives is with the unknown. Just realize it's all part of the process. And just because you can't think it out, because we are intellectual, as a Mercury sign of Virgo, we want to have a game plan. We want to analyze every single detail, but only that with a microscope. So right there, I want to understand what the moon is exactly telling me, but it's so intuitive. It's so unnatural to, or the way our minds work, how we work as a sign. I don't care if it's your ascendant, your sun sign, your Venus, or your moon. It don't matter. But it's just saying, as far as figuring the moon out, that's not going to work for us, because, as our telescope, we should have the best possible model that focuses in, and it doesn't matter. The moon energy is just saying, listen, you're not going to understand this, so stop trying. Just realize it's all part of the process. And sometimes it's like, going to bed and sleeping and waking up in a different day with a different reality. Just realizing that sometimes you don't dream, and sometimes you just wake up and it's different from the last day, and the day before could be the worst day ever, the next day is the best day ever. Just understand that it's all part of the process, and it's going to surprise you, because it's, you can see the lobster crawling. I don't know if you can see it on there, but the lobster's crawling up through it. And it's all about understanding that it comes from within. Sometimes just things aren't meant to be understood, and there's nothing wrong with the moon card as far as like giving an answer within the tarot. It's just saying that, if you just give without expectation, just stop having a final goal at the end of why you do something, as the world is saying. Take this action, give what you want to be in this world, what you want to receive, give it away for free, and you might be surprised if you actually get more back than you give. But act like you're going to get nothing back in return, because the world is saying, how can I prove to you that the divine exists if you don't give me an opportunity to show you that I do? If you didn't need me, if you didn't struggle, then ultimately I wouldn't be here. So understand that if you're feeling challenges, it's ultimately saying that you don't have to carry the burden of constantly being responsible for fixing all the problems, especially as Virgo. If you don't feel like you're responsible for the problems you're facing, and sometimes life just happens. If you feel like you're just cursed with bad luck, well, you're also blessed with good luck. Alright, so let's see here. This is our last card. It's the Indigo Angel Oracle card deck by Dorian Virtue. Let's see what the card is for Virgo. Give me a card for Virgo. You are special. Look at that card. You are special. You may be wondering why it is that indigos are extremely passionate about their opinions. Why do they have such a hard time on holding on to their feelings? Well, they were built to never back down in the face of adversity and imbalance. Indigos have incarnated at a crucial time in Earth's and humans' history to help ensure the survival of both. You are one of these people. This is a very special role in the world, and this card asks you to be aware of that. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And I would say is that what's trying to tell you, Virgo, is simply understand that, you know, you might be the most responsible person out there. You might be somebody that takes a lot of time making sure you don't have to make mistakes or fall into pitfalls people around you have, learning from a lot of people, paying attention to their details, watching out for the pitfalls they fell into and how to avoid them. And if you're going through a certain amount of hardship, or if you're dealing with a circumstance that makes you feel like something's out of your control, you know, allow that same force to know that it's got your back, because it's here to show you that even you are capable of making mistakes. But just because you make mistakes that are outside your control doesn't mean that there's something outside of you, you know, divine force that can allow you and guide you through it. So once again, thank you for joining me. My name is Drew, and this is the Indigo Void. See you next time.